What should we grow in a shady garden? This is Brooklyn. I just put that white flowering azalea in a couple days ago. That's really good for partial sun area. You know, when you say partial sun, it has to get a lot of sun. Otherwise, think about partial shade and full shade plants. There are many. But this is on the edge of where it gets some good sun, so something that's kind of 50-50 for the amount of sun. The rhododendron on the left as well. They're reliable. We had a north-facing row of rhododendrons when I was growing up, and they grew pretty big for a long time, and they flowered well. Okay, so what else we got? There's a little bit of wintergreen that just got transplanted from a really shady area. That was in my last video for the one people who saw that. That's a hydrangea that's about to flower in the back there. That's going to be really stunning, and those flowers last for ages, and those flower really well in city gardens and in partial shade. Below that is Pachysandra, also really good plant for partial shade. It's evergreen, really low maintenance. I never even water any of this stuff. I just water when I plant it, and if it wants to grow in that spot, it does. Alright, so looking in on some hostas. Those are super reliable for shade. They die back all the way in the winter, so you know, sometimes you even forget where they're at, but once they start growing, they grow for a long few seasons. They flower a little bit, bees like them a little bit, but they're not necessarily native, but they do well. There's some ferns in there. By the way, there's Boston ivy on the fence that does really well in partial shade and partial sun. It clings to the fence and kind of stabilizes the fence, but it doesn't like tear up the fence. You know, you can pull it down easily, but actually it dresses things up really nicely. That turns a nice like yellow in the fall or orange, and then loses its leaves, but that's super reliable. You know, there's some English ivy in there too, but that's starting to get to a sunnier area when it climbs the fence. And starting to get to an area to the right that gets more sun. So here we're under a pine tree, so ferns for sure. Those are doing really good. Ferns. You can get some that are evergreen and some that totally lose their leaves. Go for the evergreen ones, but all of them, if they're happy there, stay kind of semi-evergreen. The fronds hang around for ages. I have some kind of a flowering. I was gonna look it up. There's bluebells there. Those are amazing. I mean, bulbs really don't do well in shade, but these bluebonnets or bluebells do really, really well. Like over here, they're doing super well, and they're just mixed in with this euonymus. Not native, but I would say okay for city gardens. And it grows anywhere, just as a ground cover, and you can just plant bulbs right in among it, or other plants right in among it, and if they're happy, then they'll grow right out. You know, but tulips, daffodils, like all those other bulbs are great, but they need, you know, full sun, at least part sun. This is more like full shade or part shade. Alright, so you got like a small Akuba back there. It's like it's right at 12 o'clock. It's got like a speckle to it that stays evergreen. That grows really healthily in full shade. And then behind that there's like coral bells. I put those in a few weeks ago and they're looking awesome. Way in the back there's some of that Reliape, or is it lily turf? Anyway, super reliable for shade. Alright, zooming again. Oh, right here in the middle of the frame is a woods poppy. I think it's native. It loses its leaves in the winter, but it's a really nice plant. It has like little yellow poppy flowers. There's like a bamboo back there. If you look to the fence, there's a piece of driftwood back there. And right in the middle, to the left of the driftwood, is this like bamboo grass. You got to be careful with that kind of going crazy, but it grows in deep shade and kind of takes care of itself. So if it's not in full sun, it's not going to get that invasive and aggressive, and you can split it up anytime you want. Alright, some of my faves we're getting to right in the middle are hellebores, Lenten rose, Christmas rose, whatever you want to call them. Amazing plant that flowers so well and so early and so long in shade. It's crazy. You got a bigger one of those akubas back there. There's a lot of birds here. That's a good sign. Alright, so there's more ferns. This was a trickier area because it's right under a maple tree that's kind of invasive. The roots dry out the soil. It creates a lot of shade. We cut it back, so there is more sun, but I also built the soil and gave the right plants for the right place. So let's see. If we check out the hellebore one more time, some of them are purple flowering, and those are really nice. And then some of them are more green, like lime green, with flecks of purple flowering, and those are my favorite ones. Here I just have them bunched in. There's like 4 plants together. But those are really good workers. There's a little English ivy in there. Oh, there's some of this lamium in there. There's some more of that liriope or lily grass. There's also a little bit of Boston ivy I was able to start. Let's get a little bit more. There's your liriope at 12 o'clock. Oh, something back there is really nice. Right here. Foam flower. It flowered already. It's to the left side of those purple stuff. But that has really nice leaves. It makes really nice ground cover. Really cute flowers. I think it's native. And then let's look. We haven't really looked at the lamium. Let's check that out. I don't think that's native, but it makes a really good ground cover. There's some of it kind of creeping on. Oh yeah, let's look at this. This is Astilbe. Definitely goes for a part shade. And again, it's right under the pine tree. Just gonna pan. Something called Angelica down there and mixed in with the Pachysandra. That should be cool. Getting back to where we started. And then this is the much more sunny garden. We'll get to that another time. It's also the herb garden. And that's not my front door, that's the neighbor's, but I like my herb garden right there. And I also take care of the window boxes. Their neighbors. But if I had to show you some other shade plants while we were on the subject, I guess I could stop here. But there's a couple other beds I've been working with that are definitely part shade. By the way, raspberries are quite nice for part shade. I don't want to go too deep into this herb garden because this is more of a part sun herb garden, but raspberries are a good choice. Alright, so we get onto this bed, it's got some trash in it, but that's some catmint on the lower right. That would prefer full sun, it flowers and bees come, but park sun will do. But there's some more of that English ivy, and there's kind of a shrub that does okay in some shade. I think it's a yew. And then there's some Joe Pye weed, which is like a pollinator-friendly species in the back that seems to be coming back nice. Strawberries do well as a ground cover, but again, they really want full sun. Let's walk around to just the front bed that I really just started taking care of. However, it's under these pine trees. Sorry about the camera shake. So these plants were in here like a week or two ago. These are a grouping of those hostas, along with some maple wood. Actually, those were maple roots. And then the other bed. I just put in those hostas here. There's 3 and 1 back there.